battle of the OGs, Halloween 1978 versus A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984. Which one truly changed horror? What if I told you that two movies just 6 years apart not only defined horror but shaped everything we fear today? Two absolute titans of terror, Halloween 1978 and A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984. But only one can take the crown in the battle of the OGs, so which one truly stands the test of time? Let's start with the one that practically invented the slasher blueprint, John Carpenter's Halloween. This film was simple yet absolutely terrifying. Michael Myers, a silent and relentless force of evil, haunts the quiet town of Haddonfield. And let's be real, the suspense, the atmosphere, that chilling score, it was perfect. Halloween 1978 took horror back to the basics and proved that sometimes less is actually more. But let's be real, Halloween 1978 wasn't perfect. While its slow burn tension was masterful, for some modern viewers it can feel a little too slow and out of date. Not to mention Michael Myers, terrifying as he is, doesn't have much personality and honestly doesn't have that much screen time. He's a force of nature, sure, but compared to later horror icon, he's kinda one note. And let's not forget that as soon as this movie made a ton of money, the franchise was bombarded with unnecessary sequels. Halloween Resurrection, anyone? Or Halloween H2O? Yeah, let's not. What made A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984 so great? And now let's talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984. This is where horror took a massive leap into surreal. Wes Craven didn't make another slasher, he redefined fear itself. The idea that your nightmares could kill you, absolutely genius. And then we have Freddy Krueger. Unlike Michael, Freddy had personality. A twisted, sadistic, nightmare-fueled boogeyman with a dark sense of humor, Robert Englund's performance made Freddy one of the most unique and terrifying villains in horror history. And now let's talk about our final girl, Nancy Thompson. Laurie Strode was a fighter, sure, but Nancy, she was a tactician. She didn't just survive Freddy, she fought back, set traps, and outsmarted him. But again, A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984 did have its weaknesses. For one, the effects just did not hold up for today. Sure, Freddy looked great in 1984, but here in 2025, he just looks a mess. And sure, Freddy Krueger's slapstick comedy was good in 1984, but in 2025, it can come off borderline boring at times. And just like Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street also suffered from a flood of questionable sequels. Freddy went from terrifying to a joke by his later films. Now we get to the legacy and impact. Which film left a bigger mark on horror? Halloween undeniably created the slasher craze, inspiring everything from Friday the 13th to Scream. But A Nightmare on Elm Street, it took horror into a whole new dimension, literally. Without Nightmare on Elm Street, we wouldn't have horror films that blend reality with psychological terror. Alright Hellions, it's time for the final verdict. While Halloween is the godfather of slashers, A Nightmare on Elm Street is the film that truly evolved horror. It gave us a villain who wasn't just a mute killer, but an icon with presence. It blended supernatural horror with slasher terror in a way that had never been done before. And most importantly, it made us afraid to fall asleep. That's why in the battle of the OGs, A Nightmare on Elm Street takes the crown. But as always, that's just your Hellmaster's opinion. What the hell do you Hellcats and Hellhounds think? Is Halloween 1978 the true king of horror, or does A Nightmare on Elm Street 1984 deserve the throne?